situation. And what it did was it put you behind the 8 ball. You could have had Jalen Carter. You still could have had 2 of those players in that draft. And then now, as we look at the 2024 draft in its entirety, now that the season's over, it's just an okay draft. Now, it was just an okay draft. In this race,
a lot of reaches.
Terrion Arnold, right now, it looks like he may be a decent player, but it looks like you could have done better. So right now, it looks like you had an average draft, not average too much. You didn't have as good of a draft as you've had in the past last season. And then one of the players that has been the biggest focal point of your 4 years here, Jalen Carter, just helped the Eagles in your conference win their first title, and he's been there 2 years. Or second championship, and he's been there 2 years. That is a black eye, 100%. All the credit we've given him, it's okay to say he botched one, and this is one he botched.
Now I'll play the other side of the coin here for a minute, just for conversation's sake. Are Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell so much better on the Eagles defense because of the amount of pressure that the Eagles defense gets? We talk about all the time. What did I forgot who said this the other day? St. Brown said
you don't
the other
need
day,
secondary.
if you get Myles Garrett,
you don't need a corner.
Doesn't even matter who's back there.
Right.
You could have somebody worse than who's the guy that had the ball off the face mask? Vildor, to me, this poor Vildor guy is like the poster boy for.
I'm a Vildor fan. Leave him alone.
He's the poster boy for bad defensive back play for the Lions. But nonetheless, I'm just making a point. You know, if the Lions added a Myles Garrett, would you feel much? But would Terrion Arnold be that much better of a player? And the answer is yes.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. At the end of the day, everybody looks at what the Lions have done, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. We got to build through the draft. We're building through the draft. We don't want to bring players in. We don't want to take on them. Well, they've been in the league a little bit. They're not these. That's what happens in the NFL. At some point, you're going to realize you're going to have to bring a guy in. Look at the Eagles. They brought in Saquon in the offseason. They traded for A.J. Brown. Then they paid A.J. Brown. Well, A.J. Brown has helped them get to 2 Super Bowls, and he won yesterday. He had a touchdown. So you're going to have to make it. It comes with the territory. You cannot name me the team in the NFC in the last couple years that's won the Super Bowl that hasn't made moves, big moves. Go big or go home. So I think the Lions have put themselves in a good position with the cap space, with the draft picks that you have now, with the players that you've already drafted to be part of that nucleus. If not now, then when? How many teams must you see? How many examples must you see what it takes to at least even get to the big dance? Hell, we haven't even been to the show. We're trying to get there. So
they didn't even win a playoff game this year, Bray.
So if not now, then when? And if it's not Myles Garrett, fine. Is it Trey Henderson? I'm cool with that. Is it Max Crosby somehow? I'm good with that. It doesn't have to be Myles Garrett if it messes up the aesthetic. But remember last time you said that a player was going to mess up the aesthetic. Yeah, he just hoisted the Lombardi.
But the point you're making, Braylon, is an absolutely valid one, okay? And this is, I got into it with one of the Lions beat writers on X because of my Myles Garrett tweet, which, has over 1,400 likes and has been seen by 200,000 people.
Seems like you're on the right side.
Talking about how many guys that the Eagles drafted. Well, there are no do-overs. You don't get a do-over for not drafting Jalen Carter. You don't get a do-over for not drafting Cooper DeJean. You don't get a do-over for not drafting the linebacker Nolan Smith. You don't get a do-over for not drafting Jordan Davis. These are all players that Brad Holmes passed on. You don't get a do-over for that. The only thing you do get to do is make what you do have better.
Yeah.
And the way to make those guys better, the way to make Jack Campbell better, the way to make Terrion Arnold better, the way to make Aleem McNeil better, Aiden Hutchinson better, DJ Reader better, Alex Anzalone better, is to go out and get Myles Garrett. That is your do-over. That is your get-out-of-jail-free card.
Well said.
That is what you do. The L.A. Rams didn't have a first-round pick for 6 freaking years. Won a Super Bowl. Yes, they missed the playoffs the following year. But you know what happened the 2 years after that? Made the playoffs, lost by 1 on the road against Detroit. Year after that, made the playoffs, won a playoff game, and probably should have won, was one possession away from beating the Eagles in Philadelphia and making it to an NFC Championship game. So, no, I don't buy the draft thing.
Yeah.
F them picks and go out and get the player that can get your franchise. They mentioned this on the broadcast yesterday. 4 teams have never made it to the Super Bowl. Guess what? You're one of them. There is a player out there that can get you there. You are one player away. Go get him.
Yeah, no, well said. No, 100%. And this is the tweet from Mr. Ryan Ermanni. That was well said. It was well said. You try to build through the draft. You've built through the draft. Now it's time to make a move. This is going to be a very pivotal moment for Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions this offseason, especially with this move or, one of the other 2 guys that I named. You have to ensure that defensive line. You got to get them some help. It makes it a lot easier for these DBs. Look, Terry Arnold's the guy we got right now. Whatever we do with the DBs, when you add that defensive line, when you add that pressure, you get so many interceptions because of that. Quarterbacks are trying to get rid of the ball fast. It makes it a lot tougher. So, yeah, you showed me the team that won was just building through the draft, and maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s. That's about it.
And that's basically what you have to decide is how many players away do you think the Detroit Lions are to competing. And again, the 15 wins, it's great. It's great.
Who gives a
15 wins. That is the defeatist attitude, I think, of Lions fans, though, right? Because you're the Lions and you won 15 games. What does that get you? What did that get you? It didn't get you anything.
Got you one more game than the Bears. That's all it got you.
And the same amount of wins in the playoffs.
I put it to you this way. Lions are in an interesting spot picking this year. If they miss out on Myles Garrett and then they miss again in the draft, you're looking at a team, and I don't want to scare you. I just want to keep it real. You're looking at a team that might be a wild card team next year. Let that sink in. If they miss out on Myles Garrett, and if they drop a dud in this draft, because they're not picking high, it's not going to be easy. You can be a wild card team. Look at what the Vikings are doing. Look at what the Chicago Bears are doing, but potentially going to do. We don't know where Myles Garrett. Look at the Commanders. Look at the Eagles. Like, it's going to be tough sledding. Green Bay won't be as bad as they were last year. And you can mess around and go from 15 wins to a wild card team. This is where you make a move.
Listen, I can't say any more than what Ryan said.
Yeah, he nailed it.
But I will just go back to the draft. You dropped down how many spots when you didn't want to take Jordan Davis? How many spots? They went from what, 8 to 16? 12?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could have had him there. Nolan Smith was at the end of that first round.
Yeah.
Nobody really moved up to get him. Maybe Philly might have moved up to get him. I'm not sure what happened that one. And then the following year, you wait, you get Terry and Arnold. Okay, I like the kid. Now second round comes, and I've been saying it. I was a huge Cooper DeJean fan. I said he could do punt returns, kickoff returns, and he's terrific, and he is a Lion-type player. He's an Iowa guy. You're going to tell me Jack Campbell didn't tell these guys, you got to get this guy? So at 44, like you said, he's like, I'm smarter than that. I'm going to wait. I like Ennis Rakestraw at whatever the hell number he went at, 60.
61.
Yeah.
So he thought to himself, I'm not moving up to get this guy. I'm going to wait and get this guy. So instead of getting this guy, you got this guy all the way over here. And we don't know about Rakestraw because he didn't play. He's been hurt all year.
Oh, and Maz, let me add to this for all those out there that are talking about, well, where they picked, they couldn't get Quinyon Mitchell where they picked. They picked after that. Excuse me, last 2 drafts before that, didn't they move up in the draft?
You sure?
Moved up twice?
Got J-Mo.
So you know you could have moved up. You knew you needed a defensive back. This is a position of need for a very long time. Since Jeff Okudah, you knew he was the wrong guy. This is the running back and the cornerback position are probably the worst position for the Lions in history, outside of Barry Sanders. Remember that drought? Same with DB. You haven't had a DB since, Darius Slay. You could have gotten Quinyon Mitchell, who you knew was the number 1 defender in the draft. I won't give you flack about Cooper DeJean because you can't get everybody, so I'm not necessarily mad at that. Quinyon Mitchell, you could have made a move because you did it 2 years in a row.
But Terrian might be as good as him. We don't know that yet. You don't think so, huh?
Nah.
All right.
I think Terry and Arnold was an Alabama guy. Like, trust me, he's had some sets of Alabama. But I think the school could be why with the draft pick. Like, if he had the same talent, he went to Auburn. I don't know if he's selected. But he played at Alabama. It's like, oh, it's Alabama.
You just this Philadelphia organization, I know they've won, so they won one Super Bowl here. They made it to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, won another Super Bowl 8 years ago. This Philadelphia Eagles team just won 2 Super Bowls in an 8-year time span with different head coaches and different quarterbacks. That's an organization that you want to emulate a little bit, okay? Think about that for a second. How many organizations and I didn't look this up.
Yeah.
I probably should have. How many organizations in football have won 2 Super Bowls that close together within an 8-year time span with different head coaches and different quarterbacks?
49ers are the only one.
Okay, Bill Walsh and George Seifert. That's right. Okay,
But that's it.
Montana and Young.
Yeah.
That's incredible. The Cowboys, the Steelers. I mean, you think about all these
Those are
preeminent
historic
franchises. Patriots.
What that tells me is they are not afraid to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz got them to the Super Bowl. Essentially, Nick Foles wins it. They pay Carson Wentz. Didn't like Carson Wentz. Goodbye, Carson Wentz. Doug Peterson, he's a Super Bowl coach. Hey, hi, bye. They don't mind missing because it's kind of like what they do in Golden State or what they do in Kansas City. They don't stay tied to their losses. When they have a loss, they understand it, and they cut the loss. That's what they do well.
Including at coordinators. Didn't they have 2 new coordinators this year? And Kellen Moore
I was
and
just about to
Vic
say that.
Fangio?
Yeah, both their coordinators are new this year.
I mean, that should give you a little bit
They're
of
going to get 2 new ones next year.
that should make you feel a little bit better too as a Lions fan that you can lose your coordinators and
Regroup.
make it to the Super Bowl the next year.
Speaking of
win
that-
the Super Bowl.
Speaking of that, time to give that man some respect.
Absolutely.
Time to give Nick Sirianni
Hell
some
yeah.
respect.
Hell yeah.
I didn't realize that Nick Sirianni got fired from the Chiefs when got the new head coach.
When Andy Reid took over.
Yeah, when Andy
over, I didn't know
when Andy
that.
Reid took over, Sirianni got fired. A little add to that story in there.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that myself. I was sick for you, Maz. Share for me what happened to you last night. Share with our audience what happened to you last night.
Okay. I had 0 and 0 as my numbers. Missed a bunch of them all day long. So at the end of the game, game's over. Chiefs have the ball. Score was 40 to 14. So I'm like, wow, Philly just gave up the ball at midfield. So there's 2 minutes left. So I tell my family, you know what? If Kansas City scores here and miss the 2 points, we're going to win. And when I say we're going to win, it's $100 square. So it's $4,000.
Oh,
okay? $4,000.
Life altering.
Next play. Mahomes hits, was it Worthy?
It was worthy.
Worthy.
One play. The minute I said it, one play. Touchdown. I'm like, oh my God. It's zeros. It's 40-20. Missed the 2 points. Nope. Got the 2-point conversion.
Oh my gosh. That is disgusting.
That was the worst beat in Super Bowl square history for me.
Can I just say one thing? Because it's stuff like that, Maz, that makes you sick to your stomach. Because even though you didn't lose $4,000, like you didn't lose
it felt the
$4,000
same.
of your dollars,
Right.
You mentally had it.
it felt like you lost $4,000.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I told people at Fox 2 this story today.
You did?
And off the air.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't care.
Off the air. And one of the things that they were saying was, at that point, you got to split it. But it's so quick you can't. There's nobody. It's such a quick thing.
We're not all in.
Right,
I don't know
yeah,
the
right.
people that are even in this thing.
Exactly. And that's the one thing. Like, can you imagine if it was like if you had 5 minutes to look and see who it was
Yeah.
and see, hey,
I might have.
You know what I mean? Because that's something that would be worth splitting.
Wow.
But you don't even think like that in the
No.
moment because it happens so fast.
So I feel
poor
so
Tommy.
terrible, man. I was on the
I
complete
was sick.
opposite side. I was
You
on the
needed
opposite.
it
So
too.
I won the second quarter because I had 0-4 or 4-0,
for you.
whatever. It was 4-0. So I had that. Third quarter, I almost won, but last when they scored, my stepmom won. Fourth quarter, this is my ignorant self. I had 1-0. So I'm on the side. I'm like, no, just kick the extra point. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just kick the extra point because I win.
Yeah.
Because one's there, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they go for 2. I'm like, God dog it, I read the numbers wrong. I had the wrong team. I actually end up winning.
That's
No,
awesome.
kid.
I had 2-0. So if they would have kicked the field goal, I went over there and thought I won. So
That's
I,
all right. My wife
won.
won $125, so it kind of
Okay.
takes a little. No, it doesn't take.
No,
this
it
thing.
doesn't,
Nah,
man.
that's
No, it doesn't.
You put 4 large,
Oh my God.
4K in your pocket.
100%.
believe
I
that?
mean, oh
That-
my God.
That's why they call it gambling and not winning.
That's right. That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
That's the
right?
That's the first gambling I did since
Oh,
quit.
man.
I don't count that as gambling.